were the ones rushing to treat themselves for HIV.
Yeah.
And the poor children were being left behind and they were dying. So in terms of equity and in terms of equality in healthcare provision, we think that children also need the benefit of the doubt to get the vaccine.
All right. Thank you. Doctor, I'll be coming back to you. Let me go to Dr. Annette. Dr. Sabrina, for example, pointed out Pfizer vaccine, safe and has been used on children in America. And we know we have Moderna, you have Pfizer, you have AstraZeneca, you have Johnson & Johnson. It is a cocktail of these vaccines. And one is asking, number one, are they all safe? Do they work the same way? What's with this differentiation amongst the vaccines?
Thank you very much. And that was a question asked in March 2021 when we introduced the vaccine in Uganda. Are these vaccines safe? And as already mentioned by Professor, people are raising questions. The rush. Are we sure we're going to be safe? Now, let me first give a quick background. Vaccines are drugs.
Okay.
Okay? Now, there's no drug which is 100% safe. So even the vaccines are
You can
not...
say that again, doctor, and we get scared the more.
No. I'm not scaring. There's no drug that is 100% safe.
Okay.
Even for the vaccines. Let me give a quick example during the COVID, the second wave. People took a lot of vitamin C.
Yes.
And they developed side effects. And it's a drug. It's a very simple drug, by the way, vitamin C. So even the vaccines are not entirely 100% safe. But there are side effects that were detected during the phases of the clinical trial, as explained by Professor Caleb. And those are mild symptoms. And what we need to know is that I may develop a fever, I may develop some joint pains, I may develop some backache, I might even fail to wake up in the morning after receiving a jab. But within 24, 48 hours, 72 hours, I'm okay. And it has been documented. So we shouldn't get so worried about the side effect. And secondly, even a side effect is basically an indicator that the vaccine is working. Okay? The vaccine is working. Your body is now
in the body.
It's fighting. It's already now producing the army to fight that virus in case you get in touch with it. So I would like to encourage and even tell the viewers this evening that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe. We have those common, I will use the word common side effects, the fevers. Now, there are even rare side effects that are usually detected when we vaccinate millions and millions of people.
All right.
And rare, it means basically one client can pop up out of the very many million doses that you've actually administered. But the question we ask ourselves, if that one case occurs, can it be managed? Can it be treated?
Okay.
If we can treat that case, then fine. That benefits outweigh the risks. What do we mean? That out of these 100 million people who have been vaccinated, one of them has developed this side effect, but the 999,000 are already protected against the disease. But even this one client, if she survives, will also be already protected against that disease. So I would like to encourage that vaccines are very safe. And the current vaccines used in this country have been approved by World Health Organization and endorsed by the National Drug Authority. But monitoring of all the side effects is ongoing. All the medical concerns, let me use the word medical concerns, not side effects, but if anyone has any medical concern, he or she should report immediately to the National Drug Authority so that action can be taken. But beyond that, even seeking medical care is key. Many of us, when we develop these side effects, we stay at home.
Self-medicate.
Self-medicate. Then the thing gets worse, and then the following day, even the person passes on. But by the time we investigate, it was something else, but was linking this illness to the vaccine. Yet this person already had another disease, or was already incubating something, and then it popped up.
Okay.
So that is what I'm saying. The vaccines are very safe.
So one would ask, do all the vaccines brands work the same way? And is it safe? I take AstraZeneca today, the next dose I'll take Pfizer, and then when I want a booster, I'll say I'll take J&J. Do they work the same way? And can I do this mix and match?
Yes. Now, back still to history, March 2021, when we launched the vaccine, we're insisting if you've started with AstraZeneca's dose 1, continue using AstraZeneca's dose 2. But the scientists were not sleeping. They're working 24/7 because we have over 200 vaccines under different phases of clinical trial.
Okay.
So far, only 10 have been approved by WHO. But remember, we're supposed to vaccinate billions and billions of people. So the scientists went ahead to say, no, let us find out. Can I receive AstraZeneca and then second dose I receive Pfizer? And the answer is yes. The results have proved to be very good that you can mix. And now currently that the studies is AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. If you receive dose 1 AstraZeneca, you can receive your second dose as Pfizer or Moderna to complete, to be fully vaccinated. If I receive Pfizer as my dose 1 or Moderna as my dose 1, I can receive AstraZeneca as my dose 2 or even Johnson & Johnson to complete, to be fully vaccinated. Sinopharm and Sinovac. If I receive dose 1 or Sinopharm, dose 1, I can receive either AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer or Moderna. So you see, studies have been done and it's have even been found to be, once you do that mix and match, if the immune response is much better than receiving the same vaccine. The side effects, because I know people raise an issue of the side effects. The side effects are similar to whether you receive AstraZeneca or whether you receive the Pfizer vaccine. So if any product is available when a client reports the vaccination center, and the health worker tells you that I have this to enable you to complete, please just go ahead and accept whatever product is available because they all have the same result, protecting us against dying and against rushing for oxygen. Remember, during the third wave, we're all trying to look around for oxygen cylinders because they all have the same end result.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Annette. Maybe I would like to come back to Dr. Sabrina just for clarity. When we said children and vaccination, I am carrying my 1-month baby, that's a child. I have a 16-year-old, that's a child. So do we have a particular age group that we are targeting of children who could be vaccinated? Or is it going to be throughout? As long as you drop on earth day 1, you're a child, you can be vaccinated.
I like that. And it's not true that the Ministry of Health and the government of Uganda is trying to vaccinate newborn babies. No, it's 12 years to 17 years. And that is what has been recommended. However, I'd like to reassure the public and say that pregnant women are vaccinated and their babies in utero are safe. So that gives us confidence to know that even babies in utero, when the mom receives the vaccine, the baby is safe. We know that recently the CDC in the US has started to vaccinate children as young as 2 months.
Wow.
And there's a huge drive ongoing as we speak for children to get those safe and needed vaccines.
Let me come to Dr. Atwine. When we talk about vaccines, we're talking about issues medicine or medical field. It is a service, but there is a business to it. And the president has also continuously, and that is why he continues to talk about scientists and they're going to solve our problems, looking at the economic aspect of sciences. Now, there are people who are saying, and this has come through, that one, you are, and when I say you, the medics, you're announcing waves because you want to cash in on that. You want to keep us vaccinating all the other time because there is someone who is cashing in on whichever vaccine is bought because this is manufactured. How could you help such a person? Because there is a truth to it, because there is someone who is catching in on whichever vaccine is sold, after all.
For the manufacturers, yes, it is a business. But also it is answering a question, a global question, a health question. But for us, as the sector, as the Ministry of Health and as government, it is about protection of lives, because that is our cardinal mandate. Our cardinal mandate is to make sure that we educate, we provide all the information to the public, we provide the services, and one of those services is to make sure that we avail the vaccines, and also we go out and provide these services to the people. So it has nothing to do with with the business on our side.
Okay.
Yes, it is true that some people think that when we say there is COVID and that means that is money, but I think our responsibility, it is about providing the right information, the accurate information, and we go ahead and provide the services that will safeguard the lives of the people. So I just want to assure the listeners that this is our mandate. So if we sat back and did nothing, then that will not be our calling, our purpose, our goal, and objective as a sector.
Okay.
So that's why even we are seated here right now, trying to provide this information to bring more reassurance to the public that Government of Uganda, Ministry of Health, is committed together with partners to make sure that we provide the services that the people need and we provide all the information that the public needs.
Thank you, Doctor. Let me come back to Dr. Kalebo here. Out of all the vaccines that we've so far gotten, I know that the Parliament appropriated amounts of money for vaccine purchase. We waited until we could wait no more, and then we started seeing donations come through. Number one would ask, why is Africa almost entirely depending on donations? And then there's been the whole discussion about these donations coming in towards expiry date. So it's more like they're dumping, the Western world is dumping to the African countries.
I think COVID has given us a big lesson that Africa, we need to pull up. The reason we got donations, vaccines from elsewhere, because we didn't have the capacity to produce the vaccines. The disease was with us. We could not just look, so we had to get vaccines from elsewhere. And of course, the whole world was also looking. They prepared themselves that in case vaccines become available, how do they reach the low and middle income countries? COVAX was set up, different countries and different organizations to help resources, pool resources, so that the vaccines become available. So the main reason why we got vaccines from elsewhere, because we didn't have them, we didn't have the capacity. It's only recently that some countries in Africa have started making some COVID vaccines, South Africa recently. So that was really a major problem. And that is changing our thinking. How can we do better? Even here in Uganda, you hear the president and everyone urging how can Africa do better. So that was really a major driving force. The lack of the capacity. And as you saw, you rightly said it, sometimes they were giving us even what is leftovers. Yeah? Leftovers. The vaccines started trickling in. COVAX nearly failed because even the vaccines you had, they tried to get AstraZeneca, then countries started buying everything for themselves. And we're in big problem. Until afterwards, and the donations started coming in. So that was a major problem. But you talk about donations, donations came in different ways, COVAX and other countries, but also the government, the PS will tell you, we are beginning to buy, even using our own resources. So moving forward, it's a lesson. How can we develop capacity so that in the future, when we have these pandemics, Africa can also be at the forefront and we are not left behind.
All right, thank you very much. Let me get back to Professor Roda. You talked about the vaccine, its efficiency, and that we need to get a booster. And then someone is asking, are we going to boost up until Jesus returns? Every other 6 months, go for a booster. Every other 6 months, go for a booster. What is this?
So in terms of are we going to boost forever, we are still following research that's going on, and also how the vaccine works when we begin to use it, following up people that have been vaccinated to see how long they can maintain that protection. And it's possible that we might need to eventually boost annually. That is possible because we know that for some vaccines that happens, like for influenza. But if it turns out that we can do longer, then that will really be good news. But the studies are still going on, and we will have more evidence in terms of how long and how many more doses we need to have periodically to be able to keep us protected. So that's a question that's really important, and I hope that we will be able to know more soon.
So we keep waiting for the research that is coming out. But also
Absolutely.
part of the information that has clearly come out is, out of those admissions that we've had, even people who've gone up to the extent of ICU, a section, and quite a big section of them, had been vaccinated already, either just one dose or even double doses. And one would ask, do the vaccines really work now? If I am saying, the medics are saying vaccinate and then protect yourself against adverse effects, and then I'm having an admission and the people going to ICU even after they've been vaccinated, that changes the whole perception about the efficacy of these vaccines.
It shouldn't necessarily change it because basically the vaccine moderates the severity of the disease. So we may have a few people end up in ICU, but they could actually have been more. Now, especially when we get newer variants of the disease, as we've discussed earlier, some of them might be able to evade the protection that we've got from the vaccines, and you still get COVID, but at least it's moderated. The evidence shows that the severity of the disease is still moderated, and it's not as bad as it ought to have been. Now, what we see is that some of these newer variants spread faster. They are more transmissible. So you might end up with a much bigger population of people getting the disease. And because of that, you see as if there are more people being hospitalized, not because it's not working, but because you have a big number of people infected. For example, if you had 1,000 people infected and maybe 5% might end up going to hospital, you will end up with 50 people, right? Ending up in the hospital. But what would happen if, on the other hand, you had 100,000 people infected? So you might say, oh, all of a sudden we have 500 people in the hospital, and that means the vaccines are not working. No, they are actually still working, but we just have a huge number of people that are infected. And how do we deal with that? Get more people vaccinated so that even when we have more people infected, if they are not able to use other protective means, at least we moderate the proportion of people that will end up with severe disease. So yes, it does work, and it still remains one of the most critical tools that's going to help us so that we can get back to work and maintain our livelihood.
All right, thank you very much. In relation to the same, Dr. Sabrina, there have been reports of vaccinated children dying more than unvaccinated. How true could those reports be, and is there any connection to the reality that when I vaccinate my child, because the parents then would get worried, I risk losing them maybe?
And I'll let you know that I am a member of the COVAX Facility Committee, and which means I read a lot of literature and data regarding the vaccines and how they are working, not only here in Uganda, but globally. And the question you asked is actually not true. It's not true that more children who are vaccinated are dying, because that literature is not there.
Okay.
So maybe it's one of the hoaxes and misinformation that are geared towards discouraging people from getting the vaccine. Mildred, the truth is, when a dog bites a man, that's not news. But when a man bites a dog, that is big news.
Yes.
And the people who are scaremongers, they deal with man bite dog kind of news, which sometimes is ridiculous, and it needs to be checked. And we are here to check that information.
Okay, thank you very much. And in relation just to the children, let me get to Dr. Annette, and I think you can break it down a little bit. Myocarditis in children, those have been reports that are particularly coming in, and how true are they? How can someone be able to break down or decipher that sort of information?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, when the Pfizer vaccine So far, it's the only vaccine approved to be administered to children 5 years and above. And then 12 to 17 is both Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. Now, as many more children were being vaccinated, there's been an observation in a slight increase in the number of children who develop that myocarditis. It's basically some, we call it an inflammation of the heart muscles. But the good news, it is a very mild disease. The other good news is self-limiting. The other good news, of every 100 children who may develop that disease, 99.9% improve. And the other good news, it is very, very rare. Can I repeat that? It is a very rare occurrence following vaccination.
Okay.
Now let us go back to the SARS-CoV-2 virus itself. Many of us who got infected with that virus did not have any heart disease. And I can believe people who are listening to us this evening. But the moment they got that virus, they started manifesting some heart problems. And for every 100,000 clients who developed the COVID-19 disease, 4,000 of them developed the heart problem. And now they even continuously on medication. But for the vaccine, as long as the mother brings that child early enough, immediately to the hospital. And what do we mean? If this child develops the following cardinal symptoms, slight pain around the heart, previously did not have it, post-vaccination, slight increase in the heartbeat, slight difficulty in breathing, the mother or the caretaker should not remain at home. They should report immediately to the health facility, to the hospital, so that immediate treatment is provided to this child.
All right, maybe, Dr. Annette, just before you continue, like you said, yes, there is a lot of good news that you talked about, but you know, many a times we want to say, what if, for that small percentage, that could be able to get the inflammatory cardiomyopathy that you talked about? What could be the cause? Is it that the child has an underlying issue, or what exactly could lead to it?
Okay. Now, the studies are still ongoing. There are still assumptions. Is it a genetic component? Because there's still a new manifestation which has come out as we are rolling out the vaccines. So studies are still ongoing to tell us the actual cause, what could be the actual cause of this myocarditis, pericarditis, which is occurring post-vaccination. Thoughts? Could be a genetic component. Secondly, is it an immune response following the vaccine, not necessarily the components of the vaccine? So until we get that information, because the science is still ongoing, research is still ongoing, we will come back and tell the community that this is the likely cause of this myocarditis or pericarditis.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, this discussion is still on, and just a disclaimer, when we talk medical terms, I would still ask them to break it down, because not everyone who is listening is a medic or understands this medical language, but sometimes, yes, that it becomes hard for doctors to break down their, words, medical terminologies into layman's language, but we're trying as much as possible. Some of your questions and responses are coming in, and we promise to be able to pay attention to them. So let me hand you over to my colleague, Ben Wine, to take us through part of the discussions that are coming through. Ben, you're smiling. I'm wondering what sort of conversations are there online.
No, actually, I'm just picking up on what you said about knowledge of medical things, because you said a word that I cannot pronounce, something, myopa something.
It's okay, don't worry.
I wouldn't even try doing
I'm a
that.
nurse's daughter, so don't worry.
Oh, obviously, but of course, again, we are not scientists for most of us, and we depend on the experts to give us the answers to the questions, and that's why we're here to try and get those answers for you, of course, as we talk about COVID vaccination, protecting you and your child, and we're saying say yes to vaccination, but of course also giving you an opportunity to ask any questions, which is why we're coming to you live from here at NBS 13 Summit View in Nakuru, live on Urban TV, on Baba TV, and on Bukede as well, and giving you an opportunity, especially on Twitter, for those of you who are on social media, to ask any questions that you might have and make sure that we get answers for them. The hashtags for you to use: vaccines work, COVID vaccination UG as well. You can be able to use those, and the questions will be coming to you. And we have have lots of questions coming through, including one that is specifically for you, Professor Kadebo, because apparently the person says that you're a man, therefore they trust that you won't lie, as you can imagine. Obviously, you know what this question is about.
Yeah.
Does COVID affect machines working? If you know, you know. So we'll come back to Professor Kadebo to tell us if the systems are still working on his side. I can tell you mine are. This is someone coming saying that, and I think it was asked by one of the panelists, we are hearing about the misinformers. We have a lot of misinformation coming out. Yeah. And for Dr. Atwine, what is the Ministry of Health going to do about these categories of misinformers and influencers who are putting a lot of people at risk by telling a lot of lies? We have questions. Leonard is asking about the short shelf life of vaccines and what that's all about, and if it affects the people being a bit hesitant to use the vaccines. Someone is Cabrin. She's asking. We've been told about mutations, and I think Dr. Sabrina touched on this. What assurance do we have that the vaccines will be able to work against many mutations that come? Micah Tsaremwa is asking. He's been vaccinated. He wants to know how come Africans have not been dying a lot, and especially in the villages, and how many boosters is one going to need to take to be safe? This is coming in from you, Matthew Kagaula, and he says he wants to know, does nutrition have anything to do with whether a vaccine will work or not? We have a lot more questions coming through. We'll pass them on to our panelists, and Mildred will put them before them. And if you have any more that haven't been asked yet, feel free to get in touch, of course, via Twitter, and of course, we'll pass those on to our panelists. We'll take a very short break. We'll come back in just a bit and pick up on these discussions. The reminder for you, we're saying, say yes to vaccines. COVID-19 vaccination protects you and your children. Our hashtags to use: vaccines work, COVID vaccination UG.
The COVID-19 pandemic has never left, and with only 36% of the targeted 70% of the eligible population at up-to-date vaccination status, our motherland's fate remains at stake. The misinformation, the distortions and the disinformation around vaccination of Ugandans aged between 12 to 17 years have not helped matters either. This is all happening on the background of surging cases and the increased transmission, placing the country at the foot of the fourth wave. The good news is, it is not too late. The Ministry of Health, in conjunction with World Health Organization, on Wednesday, June 29, 2022, starting at 10 p.m. on NBS, UBC, Urban TV and Baba TV, will broadcast a live town hall panel discussion by experts on vaccination science and disease control, alongside other influential national figures, under the theme, COVID-19 Vaccination protects you and your child. Say yes to vaccination. Follow the conversation on hashtag COVID Vaccination UG, hashtag Vaccines Work. Dr. Sabrina Bakela Chitaka is a senior lecturer for pediatrics and child health at Makerere University's College of Health Sciences. She obtained a Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery from Makerere University in 1995, her Masters of Pediatrics and Child Health in July 2012. She has conducted research among youths with HIV while she was at the Infectious Diseases Institute as a Gilead Fellow and Research Scholar from 2003 to 2011. She received her PhD from the School of Biomedical Sciences at the COVID-19 pandemic has never left, and with only 36% of the targeted 70% of the eligible population at up-to-date vaccination status, our motherland's fate remains at stake. The misinformation, the distortions and the disinformation around vaccination of Ugandans aged between 12 to 17 years have not helped matters either. This is all happening on the background of surging cases and the increased transmission, placing the country at the foot of the fourth wave. The good news is, it is not too late. The Ministry of Health, in conjunction with World Health Organization, on Wednesday, June 29, 2022, starting at 10 p.m. on NBS, UBC, Urban TV and Baba TV, will broadcast a live town hall panel discussion by experts on vaccination science and disease control, alongside other influential national figures, under the theme, COVID-19 Vaccination protects you and your child.
Live on NBS television, broadcasting live on UBC TV, Urban TV, as well as Baba Television. Thank you so much for joining us, and continue streaming in your questions on the hashtags Vaccination UG, as well as hashtag Vaccines Work, hashtag COVID Vaccination UG, and hashtag Vaccines Work. Penwine is looking out for all your questions, and will be definitely be taking us through what they are. Still looking at vaccination. Where we are, I will continue to say, it's not a post-COVID-19 era, it's a post-lockdown. So COVID is still here, and we need to protect ourselves. Lots of questions that have come through, and I would like us to first of all take on those, and I think I'll start with the very first one, which requires the truth, and nothing but the truth. We're not going to have a Bible held here or a Quran, but I believe that the truth is going to come out of personal experience. The message is about causing infertility. Ben said the machine's stopping to work. You can just get that.
A very interesting one. Somebody asked me that question.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I said we have no proof, yeah, scientifically we have no proof, and when I gave myself as an example, she was not convinced. She was not convinced.
And it was a she. And not
Yeah. She said, how can we prove? So it's a difficult one.
Okay.
Even if I told you maybe here, they will again ask more questions,
Yeah.
which unfortunately will be very difficult. But the fact is, there's no evidence for that. And we heard that this is real rumor going on in many parts of the country and scaring men. Yeah, scaring men. I was told if you say this vaccine causes what you have mentioned, even the old man of 80 will run away.
Yeah.
So I think let's assure, from what we have seen, what we have read, none of these vaccines, the different vaccines that we have, has led to impotence or infertility.
All right, thank you very much. I won't ask any more questions. I will not ask for you to prove. Let me go to Dr. Diana Twine. On the people who are misinforming, and this is a lot of that information coming through, especially in this digital era. If you could just get your mic closer.
I think Uganda is not exceptional. We have seen so many anti-vax sentiments, demonstrations, even in so many other countries. So the misinformation is part of our society, and our role is to continue providing facts to the public. But also, I want also to assure the public that misinformation is actually against the law. It is a criminal offense. If actually we had very, very strong regulatory and enforcement organs in this country, they would be able to hold people accountable. But I think for us as the sector, that's not our area of enforcement. For us, our job is to continue providing information and demystifying all these lies, like what we are doing right now.
Yeah.
What I just want to assure the public is that science does not lie. I think people who did not believe us when we told the public that COVID is here, is killing people, people did not believe at first.
Yeah.
They thought it was money-making venture.
I remember
and all that.
in the first death announcement,
Yes.
it was cooked.
But then later, what we used to talk about, they started experiencing this. Now, when we told them that vaccines protect, at first they were hesitant. But the people who got infection after, even right now, in our hospitals, the people who are coming with severe infection, I think over 90% of the people who are coming in our hospital with severe disease, and all those people we have lost, for example, in this wave, 99% are those that have not been vaccinated. And so when we tell the public that vaccination protects you from severe disease, even when you get the infection, you are protected. Your body is prepared to fight back. That's science. You cannot fake the facts. So our role really is to continue demystifying, providing the facts to the public, and this is continuous. It's not going to stop now, because if it's not only for COVID. You'll find all these myths and concoctions and all that, whatever, because people just go on the social media and post anything disregarding the fact, because they just had a neighbor say it and then they go ahead and post. But I think we are going to get to a level where, for example, we have got Immunization Act, and in that Immunization Act actually provides penalties for misinforming the public.
Oh, yes.
However, right now, because we are still in the battle, we are really in the middle of the battle, we cannot have so many fronts to start dealing with all this. No, our focus is very clear. We continue to engage the public, we continue to provide information, and we continue to provide the service.
All right. Dr. Roda, I think this one should go to you. Looking at the short shelf life of the vaccines, and one I think was asking about how safe it is to take many more vaccines, because I'm looking at someone who vaccinated in March 2021, around July, they're concluding the second one. 6 months later, it's a booster, and then we're talking about more and more boosters. Is more vaccination, more protection, or there is actually side effects that come with that? I think that's a question that also came through.
So in terms of the shelf life, just like any other drug, every drug, and even the food we eat comes with a shelf life. And it's written there, and that's why we keep checking. So really part of the system of maintaining this vaccine and its integrity is making sure that not only it's checked when it comes in, but we also follow through and track under what conditions must it be kept and for how long, so that it keeps okay. And that's part of the system for tracking, so that the vaccines are safe and we use good vaccines. Because beyond the what is written there as the shelf life, the conditions also do matter under which we keep it, and that is part of the system for delivering the vaccines. So I think the public should trust that this system is in place. The vaccines are received safely, they are transported safely to wherever they are kept. They are supposed to be refrigerated. The temperatures are known for each of the vaccines, and that is maintained, and the shelf life is similarly maintained. Right now, there are ongoing discussions that these vaccines could actually stay viable longer than we thought. Just like initially we thought you can't keep them below a certain temperature, we can't manage. Yeah. Over time, we realized, as we learned more, that we can actually use higher temperatures and we still survive. So right now, we are also realizing that they can actually last longer than we initially thought. But trust that system, that it will be reviewed by the WHO, the experts will give us that information, and if the shelf life is changed, it will also be communicated. But nobody is going to deliberately issue out a vaccine when it's beyond the recommended shelf life.
The other in connection maybe is about the number of times. Earlier, Dr. Annette, of course, was talking about side effects because these are drugs. So I've taken so far about 4 shots. I'm trying to imagine. First, second dose, I have my booster, and then there is another booster that is coming through. Mm-hmm. Doesn't that have a side effect in my body?
So as long as you stick to what is recommended, because whatever is being recommended now is informed by science. How long will the protection last? And if we find that you need another booster after another 6 months or 12 months, then they are not only studying the boosting of the immunity, but also studying, is it safe? So if we find that by adding more, you're actually unsafe, then we are going to be able to, weigh the advice that we send out. So because nobody wants to hurt anybody by issuing so many doses that they will make you unwell. So that is part of the studies that we are looking at. How long do you take before we give you more? Is it safe if we give you more? And for now, we know that there are several vaccines that you get repeatedly, and we are safe, like influenza. So If it takes the same path, that is fine. But if it turns out that there is any issue, if it's different from what we expect, then certainly we wouldn't recommend more doses.
Okay.
So again, let's trust that this is okay, it's based on science, but we do expect that that will not be a problem, that if you need to be boosted every year, that this will actually be a problem, but nevertheless it will be studied. Yeah.
We'll keep the trust. You know, they always say the doctor knows the drug.
But
that
we
will
shouldn't
kill you and
take
one that
too
will
many.
save you.
We shouldn't, again, take too many,
yes.
assuming that when I take many more, then I'm
Then
better
I'm more protected.
Because once you take it outside the recommended schedule that we know is safe, then we cannot guarantee that you'll be safe by taking many more. And in any case, even if it didn't hurt you, it's a waste. You're cheating somebody else. So it's not worth it.
Thank you. I know Dr. Sabrina is also one who is very, very keen on matters nutrition and health. There is a question that did come through on nutrition and whether it has any side effect on how that drug, that vaccine is going to work in your body. I remember the first vaccinations, you'd be told, please do not drink alcohol between a particular period of time. And, you know, I think that's where the question is as well emanating from. Should I eat particular things and not others when I'm vaccinated so I get the best, utmost protection?
Thank you, Mildred. And I just have a rejoinder to what Professor Rhoda said, that boosters are not something that is a guarantee that you will not fall sick. You need to give your body a chance for the immunity to build up. And also, stop being selfish. I know people who have gotten booster after booster after booster. Let's say first things first. Let everyone get at least the first shot.
Yeah.
And the second shot. Let children get vaccinated because they need to be vaccinated. And then we start struggling for the boosters. And the definition of booster is also going to change. Whereas for people who are immunocompromised, they are going to need 3 doses. For some people, they will need 2 doses. And then, like Professor said, the booster may be required maybe a year later or 6 months later. So watch the space, watch the science. And just in terms of nutrition, we all need good nutrition. Whether you're going to get a vaccine or whether you're planning to get COVID because you're hanging out in a party without a mask, the primary issue is be ready. Because safety comes to those who are prepared. For example, we used to sing a lot of, you know, don't go out in the rain without an umbrella. In other words, don't go have unprotected sexual intercourse. I mean, so do not go to a party, a large crowd, when you're not vaccinated. You will not feel safe.
You can't be sure about
You won't be sure about your neighbor. You don't know which party they were attending the night before. We are all safe here, my assumption.
Yes.
Because we've been vaccinated, we are boosted, we are healthy, our nutrition is on top of the game.
Okay, disclaimer.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabrina. Dr. Annette, one also asked about whether, now there are mutations, like Dr. Kalebo said, more and more mutations of the variants that come through. And they're worried whether these vaccines that we have currently would also be able to apply to the new variants that are coming through every other day.
Yeah, and now currently the vaccines that have been approved by WHO, the 10 of them, can fight the current new strains that are coming up.
Okay.
But however, science is still ongoing. And at the moment, they're trying to see if we could get that one vaccine which can fight all the virus at once. And that is our wish, all of us. And probably if we get that one vaccine, but we don't know how many years from now, or it will be also a very short time of period. So basically, the current vaccines can fight the current new strains that are already being developed. And the unfortunate thing, I would use the Omicron. It generated a daughter, now that daughter has also generated a granddaughter, granddaughter also generating a grandson. Those sub-variants are also coming up. But the good news, the current vaccines can still fight all those many new strains that are coming up.
Okay. All right, Professor Rhoda, I'd like to come to you a little bit. We are talking about vaccination, a good thing, the positive messages. I've seen Dr. Diana Twine always talk about that. But we've also seen scientists who have come up against, this whole COVID vaccination. We've also seen medics who are saying, me, I'll not get vaccinated. So if the medics are against it, if they're saying we are not going to get vaccinated, then me, a layperson, how will I trust?
So we have that, sometimes people raising genuine questions, which can help us to search for more answers in science. That's okay and good
we
for
wouldn't
science.
expect the medics themselves.
But sometimes we also have medics.
Human beings.
We are human beings, Mildred. We've had sometimes people say, I feel so bad when I see a doctor that overdrinks. So I hope we all won't go drinking, because there are some medics that enjoy their drink, or there are some medics that smoke, even when we say it's not right to smoke.
Yes.
So I think sometimes we also do have our own behavior that we fail to manage, but sometimes also we are human beings and we do have our own fears. And because they know that there might be the 0.05%, and even when they know that the risk of the disease might be worse than the vaccine, the figures that Annette shared, some medics also get overridden by fears. Unfortunately, we also do have people, the misinformers we talked about, that like to wear our coats, and they do this TikTok. And then they begin to send around,
so many doctors
and they like to introduce themselves in a very sophisticated way. They are virologists, they are experts, they have been working with a vaccine company, and all sorts of things. So sometimes they sound so credible, and they create a lot of challenges for us. But the bottom line is, we prayed for these vaccines, Mildred. In the first lockdown, when we got the Delta variant, and many of our relatives and friends were dying, we all said, when can we have this vaccine? Now it's here, but human nature is complex. We are now fighting the vaccine, which is really the best tool for keeping us outdoors and working.
Yes.
So I would really appeal to the public that let's go and get vaccinated. Let's make good use of this chance so that we can stay active and have a livelihood.
That's true. Dr. Twine, vaccination in itself requires, because this is not a drug that I'm picking off the shelf and then I will just administer like capsules or whatever it is. It requires a particular way of storage. It requires a particular way of transmission. And one is asking, how different are you going to deal with the drive of vaccination this time round? Looking at what you said, those who have done full vaccination are only slightly below 60% or even less than 50%. Those who've done double vaccination. How different is the ministry going to handle this vaccination drive this time? Are you going to find us in the bars? Are you going to find us at the churches? How different will it be for you to impact on more people?
First of all, I want to assure the public that Ministry of Health has built capacity in terms of cold chain to ensure that all our vaccines throughout the country are transported and stored according to the temperatures that keep the integrity of the vaccines. We have also organized, like last time how we organized the campaigns, we are going to use all different methods.
Okay.
We are going to, our teams are going to go out to the communities, but also we have vaccines at the facilities, so people can feel free to go to the facilities and get vaccinated. But those that are not able, they make use of the teams that are in the community to make sure that they reach out to these teams that go in the villages to make sure that they get vaccinated. But also we'll want to use all other ways, like, the market days, the churches. If really we see that the uptake is slow, we are going to use all ways to make sure that we get to people. Because we have a lot of vaccines in our country, and it will be really shameful to have all these vaccines stay until they expire, yet we still have a big population that requires these vaccines.
Okay.
So we are available this whole week. We are there. but also these vaccines are going to be at our facilities to make sure that those that we miss in the communities, they are free to go to any of our facilities in the districts and in towns to make sure that they get vaccinated.
All right, Professor.
But there's also something. There was a question that Africans are dying.
They're dying less. Yeah? We have strong
that they are not dying. Sorry, it's not true. That really, also our people died, except that they are not dying in the numbers that we're seeing in some countries. There are possibilities that first of all, our African population, we still have a big number of young population compared to those developed countries. That also could have contributed, because the older the age, the higher was the risk.
Existent, yeah.
But also the lifestyle of the developed countries. You know, these are crowding, these are urbanized, largely urbanized. If you look in Africa, the countries like South Africa, like Egypt, like Morocco, that is more or less like the lifestyle is like Western countries, they had quite a huge number of deaths because of the crowding, because of highly urbanized, and the lifestyle, because they were using trains, they were using all these things that were putting the crowds together. But when you look in our setup, like here in Uganda, our big population is rural, but also is a young population. The lifestyle is not, and that time. But also, I think we learned from the first countries that got the experience, like US, like Italy, like all those countries. So, like in Uganda here, I know that our public health interventions that we instituted as early as at the beginning, although we are being abused, it really helped also to reverse the number of deaths. So it's possible. Yes, the numbers are not as bad as in Europe or in America, but still we lost quite a number of people.
So let's not just stamp about our ancestors at this point in time, at least. Professor Kalebo, is there any kind of what one would call a basis for which vaccine I take? And many are asking this in relation to, for example, if it is choice of a family planning method, the doctor will take you through, for this family planning method, if you've had this and this is a hormonal, this is non-hormonal. Is it the same? Because we have a number of vaccines available, or it's by choice. I can come and tell you I want Johnson & Johnson, or is it by what's available? Is there any kind of science relating to looking at history or whatever medical condition for which vaccine one takes?
Most of the vaccines that have been used, like we have seen it in Uganda, people can have different choices. Yeah, the AstraZeneca, some people have got AstraZeneca. When we got Johnson, people started using Johnson & Johnson. When we had Pfizer, people started using Pfizer. At least generally we can say that any choice of vaccine can be used by the population. Yeah, of course, we know that the performance of these vaccines is not exactly the same. Some have proven to be a little bit have more protection than the others, but generally the good thing, all these vaccines are helping us, especially from getting severe disease and hospitalization. So the vaccines are working very well. The one, at least what we have talked about children, for children we are saying the evidence we have is Pfizer. Yeah? Okay. For those, the young ones, although for the slightly older children, Moderna also has been used. And the reason mostly for now, that's where we have evidence. Yeah, that's why we have evidence. The Chinese vaccine also, they're telling us, can be used in children, but we haven't yet seen the data. When the data, if it is available, then this vaccine also could be also availed for the children. Otherwise, like Mildred, I think the choice is wide.
Yes.
The choice is quite wide. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. And I know Ben is scrolling through his phone as much, trying to get all the questions that are coming through. And in the next few minutes as well, I'll be getting back to him to see if we have some more questions directed to the panelist right here. You can feel free to ask your question directed to a particular panelist, or you could ask it generally. All these are medical practitioners, and they will be able to answer all your questions as they do come through. I want to come to you, Dr. Annette. There were reports of a teenager who was admitted at Chirudu Hospital with multiple organ failure, and the discussion around it is it was caused by COVID vaccination. How true is that, and what more information has actually come through with regard to that case?
Now, I would like to mention at this point in time that investigations are still ongoing.
Okay.
To determine the actual cause of the current condition of this young child. So once the final investigations have been completed, the Ministry of Health will officially provide the information to the public. And these investigations basically include the laboratory, plus also another team of experts are also reviewing this young child so that they can come up with a comprehensive picture of what is currently happening in this young boy. And finally, that boy is undergoing treatment at Chirudu, which is a government facility. So we hope that within the next couple of weeks, because some of the tests have to be done outside Uganda, okay? So once we get that those final results, then the Ministry of Health will come back and tell the public what caused that problem in this young child.
Okay. We earlier on as well, Dr. Annette, before I leave you, talked about myocarditis in children, but how about blood clotting? Has there been any sort of research with regard to vaccination and clotting? Because that was the biggest news, and this time it didn't come from Uganda, it came from the Western world.
Yeah, I remember the clotting disease. Let me use the clotting disease around April, May.
Yeah.
When we started using the AstraZeneca in this country. But of course, the reports had already been coming out from Europe and also the American. Now, what I want to inform the public is that, yes, the clots have, the blood, call it the clotting disease, has been documented as one of the rare, let me use the word very rare, side effect following the AstraZeneca and the Johnson & Johnson disease. But the other issue what people should know is the presentation, the way the client presents, it is similar to another disease, an autoimmune disease, which occurs even without the vaccine. And these hematologists who are basically experts in blood disease, okay, in the blood disorders, said, wait a minute, even that autoimmune disease, when it occurs, it can be managed as long as the client appears early for treatment. So even this clotting disease, if it occurs, this client can be managed. And the key symptoms which I would like to mention to the public so that they don't stay at home and take traditional herbs and use chisepichi. If there's any acute, sudden pain, severe pain anywhere, it can be in the abdomen, of course in the stomach, or in the chest, or in the lower limbs, this person should report immediately to the health facility so that adequate and proper treatment is provided. In Uganda, we've not yet got such cases. Okay. And we are still monitoring. So that's why I want to encourage everyone to report. They should not remain behind and then they start producing rumors. But it's a very rare occurrence. If I can give the figures, it is 1 out of the 250,000 clients who receive the vaccine, one of them may develop that rare condition, that rare side effect, which is also being monitored. And finally, we have a global vaccine safety committee under WHO, which receives all these reports from all over the world. And they're gathering all this information. And they said, no, wait a minute, still the benefits outweigh the risks. So that's why we continued using the AstraZeneca and we've continued using the Johnson & Johnson. We are now happy because many of us have got infected with the Omicron during this time. Because we are vaccinated, but we are not admitted, and yet we received the AstraZeneca and the Johnson & Johnson. So the benefits of the AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson still outweigh the risks of the clotting disease.
Okay, someone out there is saying every other time they're going for vaccination, they say a prayer so that they don't become that one out of the so many who could have the adverse side effect. Just before we go to our questions, there's been this intriguing question, and I'm coming to you, Dr. Diana, but where did COVID come from? Because it was a discussion, yes, we know it was from China, Wuhan province particularly, but even a world leader going ahead to say it was manufactured in a lab somewhere. And there's so many people who have taken up this sort of discussion. And let's break down to the science. Like you said, science does not lie. What has the science shown?
We shall always continue to... Is my mic on?
Okay,
yeah. We shall always continue to hear all these theories. Remember, even HIV, there were so many theories. Even this one, what we know right now, there are two schools of thoughts.
Okay.
The first one is that this virus was existing. Remember that even before there was SARS infection, and especially in China. But also there could have been the virus like a cousin of the original SARS that was like in animals, but not causing disease. But then, for some reason, there was that barrier that was broken, where the virus was, and it crossed to human, and then it started causing disease. But also, there is also a thinking that yes, this virus was habiting in animals, safe there, not causing diseases, and did not cross. But then some people could have obtained this virus, manipulated it in the lab to test, and then maybe through the mistake, and it just went out of control. So really, we don't have the facts clear, because we have had all sorts of theories. So it would not be very right for us to speculate, because we don't have the facts.
At least what the facts that we do have is that vaccines are safe and you can be able to take them, and they went through the right scientific steps to be able to get produced and certified by the World Health Organization. I would ask once again, have you been vaccinated yourself? Have you taken your second jab? Have you taken your booster as well? More questions that are streaming in using our hashtags COVID Vaccination UG and hashtag vaccines work. Ben, any more questions that are coming through?
Yes,
that
we have
a lot of truth telling.
Tons and tons of questions, actually, Mildred. Thank you.
Okay.
And please do keep them coming. You know, our hashtags, vaccines work, COVID vaccination, UG, our other hashtag in case you want to get in touch and have any specific questions for us. Wherever you're watching us, whether it's on UBC, on Baba, on Bukede, or right here on NBS TV. So please do go ahead and share those. Some very relevant questions as well, especially for our panelists here. This is around the issue of vaccination for children. There's a couple of questions around this. Okay. One being about consent. We've been talking about that. Dr. Sabrina has shed some light on that. But some worker here is asking, what happens where one parent consents to a child being vaccinated and the other parent does not? How do we deal with that? And then also another person was asking, as an adolescent child who refuses to be vaccinated, yet they are still legally under the guardianship of their parents, how does that get managed? Edwin Chironde is asking, why are we making such a fuss over vaccinating children, yet statistics show that the survival rate is more than 99% for those between 0 and 18 years of age? And then a bit more specific to the logistics, someone is asking, they were not very nice, to be honest, in the message they sent out to Ministry of Health. They're saying, why aren't they not getting their vaccination certificate yet? So that's something to deal with. Then some more questions. This is Arafat Maganda has got a couple of questions to you, Dr. Kalebo. Can I cut corners? Can I be able to just jump to the booster dose instead of, taking the first and second shot? will I still be safe if I just, go to the booster dose directly? And for our Madam PS, Dr. Twine, some people in Uganda seem to be skeptical of vaccines coming from other countries for obvious reasons. Like you said, everyone has their own theories. When do we expect to get the Ugandan vaccine that we've been hearing about? Maybe that will help with the uptake for that. And for you, Dr. Sabrina, about the children again, do we have any statistics or facts on what age a child is able to contract the virus from when they're an infant? So these are some of the questions coming through so far. Please keep them coming. We'll pass them on to our panel. Of course, you can continue asking them online. We'll be able to get answers for you. Our hashtags, vaccines work, and hashtag COVID vaccination UG. So we'll hand it back to Mildred to get some answers for you.
All right, thank you very much, Ben, for that and the questions that are coming through. I think I'll start with the questions that were more, and those were to Dr. Sabrina, especially about children. So take up those, especially starting with at what age can a child contract COVID-19? I will give testimony. My son contracted COVID at 11 months. So, but you can take it up.
Sorry about your son. Hopefully he did not
He
get
did recover
long
and he was
He doesn't have
asymptomatic.
long COVID.
Not at all.
Thank God. We thank God.
Yeah.
I saw a 9-day-old baby who got COVID-19, and sadly, we lost that baby. And for me, that is the pain that we went through as doctors who take care of children. In the Delta wave, as mothers were giving birth to their babies, and they had COVID, and their babies were born, and those babies got COVID, and some of them died.
Yeah.
That is the pain we are talking about.
Yeah.
That is the pain that we pushed for pregnant women to get their vaccines and not die so that they could be saving the baby and letting the mother die.
Yeah.
And we have moved a long way. So for me, when people say, oh, it's just a farce, don't vaccinate children, I think you're not being very sensitive. Even if one child dies out of the 17 million children in this country, that is a big loss.
Yeah.
Children are our future, and we know very well that 55% of our population is less than 18 years. We had all this fear and hullabaloo when children were sent home, and they went home with COVID and got their grandparents sick and got their parents sick, and some of those parents died. Those children were not vaccinated. So, dear friends, don't take this lightly. This is not a joke. This is not a farce. This is protection for everyone. And if it works for the adults, why are we leaving out safety for the children? For me, that is the big question. For parents who disagree, that is an unfortunate event. But I'd like to urge parents, let's communicate. Parents do communicate with each other. At the end of the day, you want your child to be safe. I told you, my children, the youngest of whom is 16, is one of those people who have been vaccinated. And you will know from the Ministry of Health that 317 children aged between 12 and 18 have been vaccinated.
Oh.
My husband and I were very comfortable to send our children to school because they were vaccinated.
Yeah.
And so parents out there, do not take this lightly. I hope you remember that your children too have the right to be vaccinated. On the question of the adolescent who will refuse to be vaccinated, it is entirely their choice. You cannot force a cow to drink when you take the cow to the well. And just to give you an example, today I prescribed HPV vaccination, tetanus and diphtheria vaccine for a 14-year-old, and she got to the nurse and she said, I don't feel like getting vaccinated today because I'm already in pain, I'm having a period. And we totally respected her choice for the moment. But she'll think about it
And come back.
and come back.
Yeah.
There's no forcing for vaccination.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Diana Twine, issues of Ugandan vaccines and the online certificates that people were saying, we got vaccinated, the certificates are not coming. How will we even be able to prove that we are vaccinated?
We have these certificates generated, they are auto-generated in our system. Shortly, I'm going to give you the link that you run on the screen so that the public, we issued, the director, public health issued a statement and guiding on how to access that, and we put it out on our website, on our Twitter handle. But we are going to give it to you so that you keep on running. So whoever wants to access the certificate can go into that link and enter the details, the particulars of the person, the date, the birth date, and then we can the person can get the information. In case the information is not updated, because remember that at first we're using manual records.
Yes.
So you'll find that maybe in some areas, depending on where they got vaccinated from, maybe all the data was not captured. But in case that information is missing, still it can be updated and that certificate is generated. So we shall share with you the link.
Okay.
Yes.
And maybe still on that, those who are complaining about wrong data or wrong information, for example, wrong names, how can they be able to correct up such mishaps?
It is still possible that if they find the information missing or miswritten, they can still contact our call center, and that information can be updated in the system, and they will be able to get the right certificates.
Okay, the other question was about the Ugandan vaccine that the president has continuously talked about. We've heard the scientists talk about that. I don't know if you're comfortable talking about that as well. That's a question that came through.
The vaccine is still undergoing all those preclinical studies, and I'm glad Professor Pontiano is here with me, who has been also participating.
Yes.
I don't have the current information, but maybe if he has some information, please let us know.
All right.
Yes, just to remind, there are 3 types of vaccines our science are working on. One we call a subunit vaccine, which uses recombinant proteins, and our colleagues in Makerere are working on that. At Uganda Virus Research Institute, my colleagues are working on 2 types of vaccines. One is inactivated, where you grow the virus. They did grow the virus, inactivate it, and then the other one is using a vector. Again, colleagues have developed a vaccine that uses a chimp, another chimp adeno, like the AstraZeneca, but this is a different adeno virus. They are still in the lab. The next step will be to go to animal mice studies, and that will be done in collaboration with the colleagues at Makerere University, COVAB, and the discussions are now really to start for some, at least the products at the Uganda Virus Institute, is to discuss how they move into the small animals. So we are still in those early stages of the lab and going into the small animals.
Okay. One asked about skipping and going straight
skipping,
to the booster.
yes, skipping. Maybe we just need to know what is a boost and what is a prime. Because we talk about as a prime and the second dose as a boost. Yeah. So what means the first dose, it is priming the immune system, yeah, switching it off, on, switching it on. So that is the priming. And then later you give a boost to stimulate more. It's like the word in English, boosting. So if you skip the prime and you say you are getting a boost, actually you're not boosting. That one where you're getting is a prime. you have just started. Yes. So there must be something you boost. If you say, oh, I've skipped, now, I don't know how it does it. Does it say now, today, let me think about I'm priming, and then when I go there now, I've boosted.
I am boosting, yes.
Ugandans like always
Shortcuts.
They don't want to drive straight. They always want to jump over. So they
So there
think
is no
also
shortcut with vaccination.
vaccine
The
they will
shortcut
just-
will be the first dose.
Yeah, somebody can stop at priming the other dose,
Yes.
but you will not boost yourself when you don't have what to boost. So it must be something to boost.
Sorry for whoever is planning to shortcut. There is no shortcut in vaccination. Maybe Professor Rhoda and Dr. Annette can as well share some insights on some of the questions that did come through. Dr. Annette, let me start with you.
Unless the client is planning to take water for injection as a first dose.
Okay.
No, but of course you can't skip.
Yeah.
You have to start, as already mentioned, the first dose, second dose, following what the science is telling us. And I don't know why we should not fear, really, we should not fear. We are now celebrating. We are now comfortably, you can move around without putting on a mask if you're in an open space.
Yeah.
Okay? And now the health workers are happy. There are very, very few cases. And unfortunately, those admitted cases are the ones, probably the ones who have skipped the vaccination. Okay, they're not yet vaccinated. Because it will be very painful. The vaccines are available now, and then someone gets infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So I just highly encourage people, let them access the right information so that they can be able to answer all their questions, and then they can start the recommended schedule to be fully vaccinated against the COVID-19.
All right. Dr. Rhoda, any supplement to some of the questions that did come through?
I think for me, one of the issues I'd like to emphasize is that whatever we fear out there to the viewers, whatever side effects, whether we are talking the inflammation of the heart, whether you're fearing clots, just remember that COVID causes the same and much more. The risk of you getting the clots, the risk of you getting the inflammation when you get COVID is so much higher. So if you fear and you want to protect your heart, or you want to get away from the clots, get vaccinated. It's safer than trying it with the disease. The other issue I would like to say is that we do have a responsibility to protect one another. The more people are vaccinated out there, the better we are, all of us. If you don't, then you remain the vehicle for carrying, again, the infection into other people within the population, especially those that are not vaccinated. So it is a responsibility to ourselves as individuals, but also a responsibility to the community.
Okay, thank you very much. Our time is really running out, and I feel like the discussion has just started. But Dr. Diana, one particular, you promised as government that you didn't want to engage private sector in vaccination first because you needed a greater percentage of Ugandans to be vaccinated and not taken advantage of, like we saw those exorbitant bills for COVID treatment. How far now with involving the private players in? Because I'll be like, I don't want to go to a health facility. I want to call my doctor, book up, go to the health facility, private facility, and get my dose.
Yes, at the beginning, we were very cautious because we didn't want to let the vaccines in the hands of everyone. First of all, it is very necessary that to have these vaccines, you must have proper cold chain. And so many of the private facilities at that time were not prepared. But also to avoid this kind of misconception that, because the private would definitely charge a certain fee to pay for their overhead costs. But then the public would somehow misinterpret that they are selling the vaccine. But also we didn't want for the private sector to take advantage of the population.
Yes.
Since that time, everyone was very, very desperate for the vaccine, and so we didn't want to take any advantage to take any risk for our population to be taken advantage of. But right now we are opening up. So the private sector that is ready to have these vaccines Like recently, the Prime Minister opened the Vaccine Access Initiative,
Yes.
where they have set up very good facility with very good cold chain system. So once you come to us and tell us that you are ready to have the vaccines, and you have what it takes to store and manage the vaccines very well, I think we would be very, very willing to work with the private sector. Okay. Because we have always worked with the private sector even for other diseases. The private sector has been vaccinating children.
Yes.
We work with them, we give them vaccines, and they reach out to the children and vaccinate. So we do believe that we've got to that level where once the private sector is prepared and has the requisite for them handling the vaccines properly, we'll definitely give them the vaccines.
Okay. Thank you very much. Time is first spent, ladies and gentlemen. I'm wondering from Ben Winnie whether there is any more questions that are coming through. We just take on those, and then we can be able to, we'll be able to take on our closing remarks from our panelists. Ben, any more questions coming through?
We do have a lot, many questions actually coming through, though we do have some information on how people can get their certificates that the PS was talking about. We have a toll-free line for them to be able to access. You can call 0800 100 066, that's 0800 100 066. But also, in case they need to be able to access that vaccination certificate, you go to our website, epivac.health.gov.ug/certificates. That's epivac, epivac.health.gov.ug/certificates. And this is very important because if you are on Twitter, you probably would have seen, and you follow the Ministry of Health Twitter handle, you might have seen the stats that Dr. Atune did share at the beginning of our town hall today. 88 new cases confirmed earlier today, Mildred, which is not very good, especially considering the fact that they are spread across the country. In Kampala, 60 of them, 10 in Rubirizi, 8 in Wakiso, 4 in Mbarara, 4 in Jinja, who are following us on Baba TV, 1 in Mbale and 1 in Chochera. So obviously there is some concern about this going across the country, and us needing to be a bit more vigilant in terms of what we do, which is why we're saying vaccines work, COVID vaccinations UG, and that they protect you and your children, and you might want to think about making sure that you go and get those doses, Mildred.
All right, thank you very much, Ben, for that. And for all of those who asked the questions, let them continue streaming through. Tag at Ministry of Health, and some of the questions that could not have gotten answered here will as well be answered. Looking at my watch, the time is first spent, but we need to be able to conclude this. And as we do, I'll start with you, Dr. Annette, to give us your closing remarks, but also there is a question that did come through about the investigation report about one Miss Charikunda Rosette earlier on in the vaccination stage, a medical student from Busitema University, reportedly died soon after COVID vaccination. Any information that did come through in that regard? And then also, please, you can give us your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much. Quickly, unfortunately, Rosette died from cerebral malaria.
Okay.
Yeah, because all deaths following vaccination, as long as the caretakers raise a concern that the cause of death is vaccination, we do a post-mortem. So a team of pathologists did the post-mortem, and what we found out was, unfortunately, cerebral malaria. And we know we can manage cerebral malaria in this country. So that is why now my closing remarks, that the Ministry of Health is closely monitoring all medical concerns. Let me use the word medical concerns, not even side effects. As long as any client has a concern following vaccination, please report immediately, first of all, to the health facility to get proper treatment, and then secondly to the National Drug Authority so that they can take note of that medical concern. And then we move to the next step of carrying out a detailed investigation. Please do not remain at home when you have any medical concern following vaccination. come and report to us, so that by the end of the day, we are able to tell the entire world that, look here, all these medical concerns are not at all related to the vaccination. Or what you've reported has already been seen elsewhere, and it is mild. Within a few hours, a few days, it will be resolved, and then you go back to your normal life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Sabrina, what would be your parting shots?
Parting shots include a clarification.
Yes.
Some people have thought that it's 100 children who died. It is not 100 children who died. It's 100 children who are admitted, who are critically ill in various regional hospitals, and out of those, 10 died.
Oh.
Okay? But I'm very grateful, first of all, to you, Mildred, for, being a great moderator, and to NBS and all the partners, and to all the people who are participating in this conversation. Let us continue this conversation. Our children are not safe until they are vaccinated, and we are not safe until we are all safe. So let us get our vaccines. For those of you who have got your first shot, second shot, do get your booster. Do not jump. You cannot get only booster. Get the primer, the booster, and another booster.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Rhoda, over to you.
So a critical issue for me is that we've come a long way from having just masks and being tucked away in our homes and not being able to do the things that we love. We now have an opportunity for
The ladies missed our makeup being, shown out.
for me to be here today without a mask.
Yeah.
Is a privilege I feel I can't afford to lose. I don't know what you really love out there that you want to continue doing. The vaccines are an opportunity for us to have that livelihood back once again. But unfortunately, if we have so many unvaccinated people, it leaves many of us exposed. It's our responsibility. So for those who are listening, please do talk to people, convince others to be able to come forward and vaccinate. And the side effects that we fear are even more if we don't vaccinate. So let's step forward and do this so that we can avoid another lockdown and have our livelihood back. Thank you
very much. I will first cross to Professor Kalebu here with your concluding remarks.
I think, thank you, Mildred, and NBS for hosting us. But I think I want to emphasize safety is very important to everyone, including the manufacturers of these vaccines. There is high liability, so safety is so important. At the start, we used to read other countries, but it's very good, as you have heard, even in our country, we're beginning to generate data about the safety of these vaccines, which is very important. And that brings me to the point of, if people suspect somebody has died or has an effect because of a vaccine, let's go to the right people so that we can at least record that, or if people have died, do a post-mortem. The many people we talk about, so-and-so was vaccinated, then afterwards passed away. I've had many who are saying that, some I know. It's very difficult unless you have done real post-mortem or the doctors have clearly said. Otherwise, it remains rumor mongering. No facts. So let's use science. As the PS says, science does not deceive. We are here, we have survived mostly because of science. So help us. If there are any issues, safety of the vaccine, do report. If people die, have the opportunity, if possible, post-mortems are done. We have seen that many people have passed away after vaccinations. Post-mortems show they have died of something else. So let's do that, but safety is a concern of everyone, all of us.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Atwine, as you conclude, I wonder, Eric Atwine was asking, the reason he has failed to get his second jab because he lost his card, can never remember where the card is, but whenever he goes, he's asked for the card. So what does he do at that?
And then we can still vaccinate and then go into the system and generate a fresh, if we misplaced the card. That information is available in our system. As we conclude, first of all, I want to thank the partners and all of you that hosted us to make sure that we are able to reach as many people to give them this information. One thing I wanted to emphasize today as we conclude this talk show is that the responsibility of our lives lies with us individually. The decision that we make can keep us safe or can endanger us. So the sole responsibility of our lives lie with us. The second thing I wanted also to emphasize is that science is not witchcraft. We are not witch doctors here. For us, we talk about...
medical doctors, not witch
yes,
doctors.
we talk with facts and statistics. So when we do clinical trials, when we follow through what other clinical trials that have been conducted, it is the basis for our decisions. We don't gamble. We would not take our children to get vaccinated if we are doctors. We have studied the science. We know exactly what is happening. We have even studied the statistics and the articles that have been published in the peer journal, the journals globally. And therefore, we know what exactly is taking place and what is being done. We would not entrust our children to go to get vaccinated if we believed that they were not safe. So because we did that, we totally trust that the processes for clinical trials to ensure that the safety, the science is right, the processes are right, and therefore our children are safer vaccinated than risking them to get infection when you cannot predict whether my child will be one of the 10 that will die or get severe disease and heal with effects. Because even when you get severe disease and you heal, there is certain effect on your health because the lungs, you heal with fibrosis, scars in the heart, and then later you can get actually complications. So we don't want to get there. Lastly, the vaccination also has a protective, not just to moderate the impact of our bodies towards the infection, but also it lowers the virus in the body that I have less chance of infecting people here because my viral load will be very low because once I'm vaccinated, the body starts making antibodies, and when I get infection, the soldiers in the body are able to attack immediately the viruses. Therefore, the viral load in my system, in my airway system, is a little less. Therefore, there is even a higher chance that I will have someone in this room and I will not infect you because of the vaccination. So it is not just to protect me from severe disease, but also to protect the person I'm with next. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We would love to continue with this, but we do promise that there will probably be a next time for this. Thank you, Dr. Annette, for your time. 2 days of discussion. If you're doubting that, we started this yesterday on Wednesday. It's already Thursday. Thank you very much, Dr. Sabrina, Dr. Rhoda for coming through, Dr. Diana Twine, and Dr. Pontiano Kalebo. And to UBC TV, Urban TV, as well as Baba TV and NBS Television for broadcasting this and getting all this information to the Ugandans. To my colleague Ben Wine, who dealt with all your questions coming through, I want to say thank you, and to the entire crews of all the televisions who have been broadcasting this. We come to an end. My name is Mildred Tohaise. I will say good morning and God bless you.
The COVID-19 pandemic has never left, and with only 36% of the targeted 70% of the eligible population at up-to-date vaccination status, our motherland's fate remains at stake. The misinformation, the distortions, and the disinformation around vaccination of Ugandans aged between